If there was ever a moment I wanted to etch into my father's memory, it was tonight. His 60th birthday celebration wasn't just a lavish dinner at one of San Francisco's most upscale restaurants. It was a gift I'd been planning for months. But ironically, as the crystal chandeliers cast their shimmering light over the elegant table, and my father's smile made every effort feel worthwhile, a quiet unease stirred within me. Would my family truly grasp the meaning behind this night? Or would they see it as nothing more than a pointless display of extravagance? My name is Rachel Anderson, and I'm 27 years old. At this age, many people are still scrambling to find their place in the world. I'm no different, at least in the eyes of my family. To them, I'm just the youngest daughter with a shady consulting gig, a job no one in the family bothers to understand. My older sister, Melissa, 34, always carries herself with pride, flashing her title as marketing director at a major media company. My younger brother Nathan, fresh out of his MBA, constantly talks about numbers and financial charts as if they're the sole measure of a person's worth. In their world, I'm just a shadow, the sweet, slightly erratic little sister who's definitely not rolling in money. But tonight, I wanted to change that. The Astoria Room is renowned for its opulent events, the kind of place where you need to book months in advance just to step through the door. Crystal chandeliers bathe the room in a warm glow, reflecting off delicate glassware and polished silver. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, San Francisco Bay sparkles in the night, the city's lights stretching out like a galaxy of stars. I chose this place not to flaunt wealth, but because I knew it would make my father happy to sit somewhere he'd never dared dream of, a place he'd only read about in newspapers or seen on TV. As the Wagyu steak was set before my father, he looked up at me, his eyes brimming with emotion. Rachel, I don't know how you pulled this off, it's incredible. His praise made my heart clench, not from joy, but because a moment later, Melissa's gaze sliced through me like a cold blade. She set her wineglass down with a sharp clink, deliberately drawing attention. Rachel, we need to have a serious talk, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. I flinched. Can it wait, Melissa? Today's about Dad. It's because it's Dad's day that we need to talk now. She leaned back in her chair, eyes locked on me. Do you have any idea how much a dinner at Astoria costs? You live in a tiny apartment in Oakland, doing some shady consulting job no one understands. How are you paying for all this? The table fell silent. Dad frowned, Mom lowered her eyes, and I felt my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Ethan, Melissa's husband, who never missed a chance to boast, jumped in. I make over $400,000 a year, and Melissa's clearing $200,000. We know what it means to have money. You don't, Rachel. Stop pretending, or you'll just drown yourself in debt. His words stung like needles. I tried to stay calm, responding softly. I can afford it, and I wanted to do this for Dad. But Nathan, my little brother, sided with Melissa. In his rational tone, he said, Rachel, I've looked at the cost of living in the Bay Area. There's no way you can afford this as a freelance consultant. I'm genuinely worried you're in over your head. I looked at Nathan. In his eyes, I saw real concern, but also doubt. My own brother thought I was delusional. Melissa let out a sharp laugh, her voice biting. Your credit card's probably maxed out already. Go ahead, try to swipe it. Don't turn Dad's special day into some pathetic charade. In that moment, I felt cornered, the years of my family's doubt exploding around me. They didn't believe in me. They never had. Dad looked at me, his eyes filled with both pity and worry. Mom gently squeezed my hand under the table, as if to shield me from more pain. But I knew if I stayed silent, if I kept swallowing their skepticism, it would haunt me forever. Two conflicting impulses battled in my mind. One urged me to let it go, to keep the peace for Dad's birthday. The other pushed me to stand up, to prove I wasn't the insignificant little sister they thought I was. I took a deep breath. Fine, I said, my voice calmer than I felt. If you want proof, I'll show you. I opened my purse and slowly pulled out a sleek black card, an Amex Centurion, the kind of card not just anyone with money could get. It felt heavy, cold, but in that moment, it was the only shred of confidence I had left. Melissa burst out laughing. A black card? That's ridiculous. Did you buy it online or something? I didn't answer. I handed the card to the waiter standing nearby, his eyes flickering with hesitation as he sensed the tension at the table. Dad looked at me, torn between worry and hope. Mom shook her head slightly, whispering, "Rachel, you don't have to do this." But I knew I did, for myself, for all the years I'd been silently dismissed. As the waiter walked away, the table sank into a heavy silence. I felt every pair of eyes on me. Melissa's mockery, Ethan's disdain, Nathan's disappointment, and my parents' overflowing worry. I sat up straight, hiding the slight tremble in my hands under the table. Deep down, I knew the next moment could change everything, lifting me up or plunging me into utter humiliation. I'm sharing this story not just to recount a dinner, but to reflect with you, my audience, on something deeper. Sometimes, the people we love most are the ones who doubt us the most. Have you ever been in a situation where your own family questioned your efforts? Drop a comment below and let's share our stories. Have you ever felt a room shrink around you, the grandeur and dazzling lights fading into nothing as every eye turns to you with the same skepticism? That night, I lived that feeling to its fullest. As the waiter left, the air around the table grew thick. Melissa leaned forward, her voice sharp as a blade. "Do you really think anyone's buying this, Rachel? You live in a rundown apartment in Oakland, doing some vague consulting job no one gets. Yet here you are, at Astoria, ordering the priciest dishes for the whole family. Who are you trying to fool?" I stayed silent for a few seconds. Part of me wanted to let it slide, to preserve the mood for Dad. But the way she spat out, "Who are you trying to fool?" sparked a pain I couldn't ignore. It wasn't just personal hurt. It was a deep cut into the trust of our family. Ethan, always eager to pat himself on the back, chimed in. "I work in banking, pulling in $400,000 a year, plus bonuses. Melissa's over $200,000. We know what real money looks like." "What do you have, Rachel, besides a suitcase full of dreams? Wake up." His words pushed me to the edge. I wanted to fire back but feared turning Dad's celebration into a shouting match. I glanced at Dad, his forced smile barely hiding his discomfort. Mom pressed a hand to her chest, as if calming herself. Nathan, my little brother, the one I thought would understand, spoke up slowly. "Rachel, I've crunched the numbers for living in the Bay Area. With a freelancer's income, there's no way you can cover this. I don't want to say this, but I'm worried you're setting yourself up for debt." Nathan's words cut deeper than the others, not from arrogance, but from genuine doubt mixed with concern. That betrayal stung most. My brother, who'd once stood shoulder to shoulder with me through tough times, no longer had my back. Dad set down his fork, his voice trembling. "Rachel, if this is beyond your means, I don't need a fancy dinner like this. I just want to be with family." My heart twisted. I'd done this for him, to give him a memory to cherish, to make up for the years he sacrificed for us. Yet now, my gift had become an excuse for the family to paint me as a show-off pretending to be rich. Melissa crossed her arms, leaning back with a sneer. "That's exactly it. You're trying to look flashy, to make everyone think you're some big shot. But the truth? You're nothing, Rachel. One dinner doesn't make you a millionaire." I took a deep breath, every emotion, shame, anger, disappointment, threatening to burst. But above it all was a quiet sadness, the realization that the people closest to you can hurt you 100 times worse than a stranger's scorn. I spoke, forcing calm into my voice. "I don't need you to believe me right away. But I'd hope, at least today, you could trust that I'm not crazy enough to turn Dad's birthday into a joke." Melissa's laugh pierced the air. "A joke? You're making our whole family a laughingstock in this fancy restaurant. We all know how this ends for show-offs, debt, shame, and nothing left." Nathan stayed quiet, but his face said it all. Doubt, worry, disappointment. Dad's eyes were lost, and Mom gripped his hand as if bracing for a storm. The once dazzling room felt suffocating. The clinking wine glasses and gourmet dishes lost their flavor. All that remained was the pounding of my heart and the sense of being pushed to the edge of my own family. I knew I couldn't back down. I couldn't let them think I was just a delusional dreamer. But I also couldn't explode, not on Dad's birthday. Caught between those two choices, I chose silence, not out of weakness, but because I needed to wait for the right moment for the truth to speak for itself. And then, like fate, The waiter's footsteps echoed behind me. He approached the table, his face slightly uneasy. Every eye turned to him, waiting for the answer they were certain would expose the truth about me. Reflecting on that moment, I still feel the suffocating weight, as if the whole world was against me. But sometimes that pressure opens the door to a bigger truth, a twist no one sees coming. If you're intrigued by my story so far, comment Y. If not, comment N. I want to know if you're ready to keep going with me, to see what happens when the waiter speaks. Do you believe a single credit card could draw the line between honor and humiliation? I held that card in my hand, a card that, to many, symbolizes ultimate wealth. But in that defining moment, it felt like the world was crashing down on my shoulders. I pulled the Amex Centurion, black card, from my wallet and placed it on the waiter's silver tray. It was heavy, cool, gleaming under the chandelier's light. I didn't say a word, just smiled, letting my actions speak louder than any defense. Melissa let out a mocking laugh that echoed through the private room. Oh, come on! You think we're that gullible? A real black card requires spending at least $250,000 a year. You? No way. That's probably some fake you bought online for a few $100. Ethan crossed his arms, adding in a smug tone. They don't hand out Centurion cards to dreamers. You're making a fool of yourself, Rachel. I didn't respond. I wanted the truth to speak for me, but my heart pounded so hard I thought the whole room could hear it. Dad looked at me, his eyes full of worry, while Mom pursed her lips, as if praying for a small miracle. The waiter nodded politely and left to process the payment. The moment he stepped out, a heavy silence blanketed the table. I felt every scrutinizing stare, Nathan's eyes wavering between doubt and hope, as if he wanted me to prove them wrong but didn't dare believe it. Then the waiter's footsteps returned. He came back, his expression slightly awkward. He bowed his head. I'm sorry, Ms. Anderson, but the card was declined. The room exploded. Melissa practically leaped from her chair, her triumphant laugh ringing out. I knew it, I told you. A fake card. You thought you could fool anyone here? This is Astoria, not some dive bar. Ethan clapped, his voice loud enough for the room to hear. Rachel, what a terrible act. Pretending to be successful, pretending to be rich, and now exposed at Dad's birthday dinner. Pathetic. I sat frozen, my hands gripping the table, nails digging into my palms. I wanted to scream that they were wrong, to storm out, but reason held me back. This was Dad's night. If I left, he'd be left with a chaotic memory instead of a joyful one. Dad flushed, staring down, avoiding everyone's eyes. I'd never seen him so embarrassed. Mom's hands trembled as she set her napkin on her lap, her eyes red. I knew she didn't want to believe the accusations, but the evidence seemed undeniable. Nathan lowered his head, whispering, Rachel, how could you let this happen? Do you know how disappointed I am? His words hurt more than 1,000 knives. My brother, who'd once shared instant noodles with me during broke college days, now looked at me like a liar. The invisible gap between us widened, swallowing our shared memories. Melissa didn't let up, pointing at me. You've embarrassed us all. This whole family's a joke now. Mom and Dad will have to walk out with a bill for tens of thousands because you wanted to show off. Aren't you ashamed, Rachel? I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Inside, I was a storm of emotions, humiliation, pain, fury. But above it all was a strange resolve. Because I knew this wasn't the end. I still had a chance to let the truth shine. They just weren't ready to hear it yet. The waiter stood there, waiting. Melissa shot him a sharp glance. Bring me the bill. Clearly my sister can't handle it. I'll take care of it. Ethan put a hand on her shoulder, his tone sugary but mocking. That's right. Let my wife handle it. We don't want Mom and Dad humiliated any further. I looked up, meeting their eyes for the first time, my gaze steady and fierce. No need. I'll handle it. My words silenced the table for a moment. Melissa laughed again. How? You gonna pull out more fake cards? I didn't answer. Instead, I looked at Dad. He still wouldn't meet my eyes, but I saw his hands trembling on the table. I knew he wasn't hurt by the money, but by the fact that his youngest daughter, whom he'd always believed in, was being humiliated by her own family on his birthday. Mom touched Dad's hand, her eyes pleading with me. Rachel, don't make this worse. Your father can't take it. In that moment, I felt like I was standing on a cliff. One side was restraint, staying silent to keep the dinner from spiraling further. The other was the truth, a truth that could change how my family saw me forever, but also risked shattering the fragile peace. I closed my eyes for a second, then opened them with resolve. I wasn't backing down anymore. But just as I opened my mouth to speak, the door to the private room swung open. A man in a crisp black suit stepped in, his face tense. I recognized him immediately, Thomas, the restaurant's manager. "I'm sorry to interrupt," he said, his voice urgent but respectful. "There's something important we need to clarify about the transaction." My family froze, and Melissa's smug smile faltered. I sat still, my heart racing, because I knew the next moment would be the turning point. If you want to hear more stories like mine and relate to the struggles I'm facing, you can check out my previous videos on this channel. There are moments when every sound around you fades, leaving only the pounding of your heart. That's exactly what happened when Thomas, the manager of the Astoria room, stepped into the private room. He approached our table with a formal yet hurried demeanor, silencing the mocking laughter as my family waited to hear what he had to say. "My apologies for the interruption," Thomas said, bowing slightly, his voice urgent but respectful. "Regarding the transaction, Ms. Anderson's card wasn't declined due to a technical error. It's because—" He paused, looking directly at me. "Our restaurant owes her company over $600,000 from previous event contracts." His words hit the table like a bombshell. I heard Dad's sharp intake of breath, the clink of Mom's spoon slipping from her hand. Melissa's jaw dropped, and Ethan's eyes widened, as if they'd just witnessed something absurd. Nathan stammered, "Owes her company?" Thomas continued, his tone steady. "That's correct. Anderson Lux Events organized 3 major events for us this past quarter. The outstanding balance is over $600,000. Because of this, our system blocked Ms. Anderson's Centurion card to avoid overlapping transactions. On behalf of the restaurant, I apologize to her and her family for the inconvenience." The room fell into a stunned silence. In their eyes, I saw confusion mixed with lingering doubt. I nodded slightly at Thomas. "It's fine, Mr. Chin. We'll sort out the books later. Just add tonight's dinner to the outstanding balance." He nodded and stepped out, leaving a room full of shell-shocked faces. Melissa broke the silence first. "Don't lie, Rachel. What are you at Anderson Lux Events? An intern? A receptionist?" I met her gaze, calm and steady. "No, I'm the founder and CEO." My answer struck the room like a slap. Dad leaned back in his chair. Mom clutched her chest, whispering, "Oh my God." Nathan squinted at me, searching for any hint of a lie. Ethan, ever the fact-checker, pulled out his phone. His fingers flew across the screen. Moments later, I heard him mutter, his voice faltering, "Rachel Anderson, Forbes 30, under 30, estimated net worth $30 million, UN anniversary event, Bloomberg Gala, Rockefeller wedding. Holy crap." He looked up at me as if seeing a complete stranger. Melissa's face paled, her voice breaking. "You're a millionaire? For real? The whole world knew. And I didn't?" I gave a small, bittersweet smile. "I didn't hide it from you. I just never said it. I wanted you to see me as Rachel. Your daughter, your sister, not some title in a magazine." Dad's trembling hand reached for mine. "You did all this on your own?" I nodded, memories flooding back, of sleepless nights hunched over plans, near bankruptcies from lack of funds, contracts that fell through. I'd stayed silent for years, and now the truth had erupted in front of the people I loved most. Mom's eyes welled up. "My little girl, why did you carry this alone for so long?" I took a deep breath. "Because I wanted to prove I could do it. Not by luck, not by anyone's backing. I just wanted you to see a Rachel strong enough to stand on her own." Nathan stayed quiet, his eyes wrestling with something deep. I knew the wall of doubt in him was cracking, but pride held him back. Melissa looked down, her hands trembling on her wine glass. For the first time, I saw my sister, always so proud and confident, look small. She exhaled shakily. "All night, I berated you, mocked you, thought you were lying. And now it turns out I'm the one who knew nothing." I looked at her, feeling a gentle sadness, I wasn't gloating or triumphant. I was just tired. To reach this moment, I'd traded years of silence, enduring their dismissive looks. Dad squeezed my hand, his voice choked. I'm so proud of you, but it breaks my heart that you carried this burden alone. I smiled, hiding the sting in my eyes. Dad, I'm not alone anymore. I just hope from today you'll all understand and believe in me. Mom nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. Nathan turned away, but I saw his shoulders tremble. Melissa bit her lip, saying nothing more, her eyes red. The table fell silent again, but this time it wasn't disdain, it was shock. I knew from that moment everything had changed, but I also felt a quiet fear. With the wall of secrets torn down, could our family's bond hold strong? The moment Dad gripped my hand tightly would stay with me forever. That hand, which had guided me through childhood, now trembled with pride. He choked out, Rachel, I'm prouder of you than anything. But why did you hide it? Why did you let us doubt you? Let your siblings misunderstand you like this? I swallowed hard, meeting his gaze. Memories of being dismissed, doubted, compared, they all rushed back. But what I said was simple. Dad, I wanted to be loved for me, not for the numbers in my bank account. I wanted you to remember Rachel, the clumsy girl in the kitchen who forgets to lock the door, who cries at old movies, not a CEO with millions. The room went still. Melissa sat across from me, her face pale. Her usual arrogance was gone, replaced by a heavy silence. She stared at the table as if facing her greatest failure, not in her career, but in understanding her own sister. I didn't blame her. Deep down, I knew pride was often just a mask for insecurity. Dad nodded slowly, and Mom quietly wiped her tears. I knew they were starting to understand why I'd chosen silence all these years. The dinner ran later than planned. We left in silence, each lost in our own thoughts. As everyone got into their cars, Nathan pulled me aside, his eyes shimmering with conflict. Rachel, can you stay a minute? I need to talk. I nodded. We sat on a bench outside the restaurant. The San Francisco night was cool, the bay breeze carrying a salty tang. I looked at Nathan, my little brother, fresh from his MBA, always so confident in his knowledge and ambitions. But tonight, his shoulders trembled, his eyes like a lost child's. I'm in a lot of debt, Rachel, he said, his voice breaking. My student loans are nearly $180,000. I've been trying to land a finance job, but it's so competitive I'm scared I'll drown in debt before I even start. I was stunned, then felt a pang of sorrow. My brother, who'd always talked big about numbers and grand futures, was confessing his vulnerability. In his eyes, I saw myself years ago, struggling, alone, underestimated by the world. Nathan lowered his head, his voice faint. You probably think I'm a hypocrite. I doubted you, even sided with Melissa. Truth is, I was jealous. You're successful and I'm stuck. I put a hand on his shoulder, shaking my head. No, Nathan, I've never seen you as a burden. You're just at a tough bend in the road. Everyone hits one. Even I made mistakes, nearly went bankrupt. The difference isn't in falling, it's in how you get back up. He looked up, eyes glistening. But what do? I feel so powerless. I took a deep breath. Come work at my company. Not because you're my brother, but because I believe you deserve a chance to prove yourself. Success isn't just about money, Nathan. It's about sharing, lifting each other up instead of tearing each other down. He went quiet, then suddenly hugged me tightly, his shoulders shaking. Thank you, Rachel. I won't let you down. In that moment, I realized true strength for someone with means isn't in how much money you hold, but in how you choose to use it to build or destroy, to hoard or to uplift. As we left the restaurant, I glanced back at the glittering chandeliers. Tonight had changed everything. The truth was out, wounds were opened, and with them a chance to heal. Melissa hadn't apologized yet. My parents were still reeling, but I believed time and love would bridge the gaps. And Nathan, my brother who doubted me, now held a chance to start anew. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but at least we'd walk it together. That night, in my penthouse, I looked out at the city's lights, a tapestry of stars at my feet. I thought of my parents, Melissa, Nathan. I thought of what was lost and what was regained. And I knew the journey wasn't over. Because family, like any relationship, needs more than truth. It needs forgiveness. My greatest challenge wouldn't be million-dollar deals, but learning to forgive, to open my heart, to let old wounds heal. Do you believe some events are more than just a party? They're moments that reshape a family? For me, that was my parents' 35th wedding anniversary, a month after that chaotic night at the Astoria Room. I'd planned countless lavish events for the elite, from million-dollar galas to extravagant weddings splashed across magazines. But I'd never trembled like I did while planning something for my own family. Not because of the stakes, but because I knew this was a chance to heal the wounds we'd inflicted on each other. I poured my heart into every detail. The ballroom was draped in white lilies, Mom's favorite flower from her youth. The menu featured Dad's favorite dishes, from the Southern-style roast chicken he used to make every Sunday to a bottle of Bordeaux he'd always dreamed of but never bought. On stage, a jazz band played the song my parents danced to at their wedding. When my parents walked in, soft light illuminating them, they stood frozen for a moment, hands clasped, eyes glistening. I knew they weren't just moved by the grandeur, but by what it meant. The love of their children, after all the turmoil finally coming together. Dad turned to me, whispering, "Rachel, you've made your parents' dream come true." Mom couldn't speak, just hugged me tightly, tears soaking my shoulder. As guests settled in, I stepped onto the stage, my heart pounding but my voice steady. Tonight isn't a corporate event or a million-dollar contract. It's a daughter's gift to her parents. 35 years of love, sacrifice, and protection. We know no words can ever thank you enough. But I hope tonight shows we've learned the most valuable lesson: to love and lift each other up. The room erupted in applause. My parents sat below, holding hands, faces glowing with emotion. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Melissa stood, her face hesitant but her eyes resolute. She took the microphone, her voice trembling. "I need to say something. Rachel, for years I was too proud, too caught up in myself to see my little sister. I mocked you, humiliated you, right in the middle of Dad's birthday dinner. And I was wrong, completely wrong. Today, in front of Mom, Dad, and our family, I want to apologize. You deserve admiration, not for your money, but for your heart, for putting family first." The room went quiet. I looked at her, seeing eyes once filled with arrogance now shining with sincerity. I stepped down and hugged her. For the first time in years, I felt the distance between us dissolve. "I forgive you," I whispered. "You're my sister, and I'll always need you in my life." The applause roared again, warm and heartfelt. Nathan stepped up next. He looked at our parents, then at me, his face bright, free of the insecurity from before. "I want to thank Rachel," he said. "This past month, she gave me a chance to work at Anderson Luck's events. I've learned more than I did in years of MBA, not just about business, but about patience and trust. I've realized family isn't just for sharing joy, but for lifting each other up when we fall. I'm proud to work with you, but above all, I'm proud to be your brother." He turned to me, his eyes shining with belief. I nodded, my heart swelling. I knew Nathan's journey was just beginning, but he was stepping forward with confidence in himself. The night's peak came when Dad stood, his voice trembling but strong. "The greatest gift tonight isn't this beautiful ballroom, the music, or the gourmet food. It's seeing my children love and support each other. For 35 years, your mother and I have tried to keep the flame of love alive. But you, with your forgiveness and unity, have lit a new flame for this family. Thank you." Mom buried her face in Dad's shoulder, sobbing softly. The room brimmed with emotion, even the guests falling silent. At 9 o'clock, I raised my glass, my voice ringing in the warm air. To family. Because in the end, money can build a house, but only love builds a home. My parents, Melissa, Nathan, and all the guests raised their glasses. To family! In that moment, I saw the shift, from misunderstanding and envy to forgiveness and unity. We realized the greatest wealth isn't in numbers, but in love and understanding. As the night ended, I stepped onto the terrace, gazing at the glittering city below. Melissa joined me, gently taking my hand. "You've done what I never dared imagine. I know now I need to learn to be proud of having a sister like you. Nathan ran up, grinning. Tomorrow's my first client meeting. I'm nervous, but I know I'm not alone anymore. I looked at them, then at my parents holding hands in the distance, my heart full of peace. Looking back on this journey, I realized money, fame, or dazzling success never defines a person's true worth. What makes us strong and happy is love, forgiveness, and trust in each other. I spent years living under my family's doubt, but in the moment we sat together, apologized, and offered new beginnings, I understood. Every wound can heal if we choose to open our hearts. My parents taught me the greatest lesson. The most valuable wealth isn't in millions of dollars, but in the bonds, support, and sharing among those closest to us. If you've ever felt misunderstood or doubted by your own family, I hope this story gives you faith that love can heal. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and if this touched your heart, follow my channel for more emotional journeys.